I woke up with an IV in my arm, heart monitor beeping steady, and my phone showing a notification my sister had just tagged me in a family photo. At the lake. The hospital said they'd called my parents. They never came. The next 30 messages all said the same thing. Transfer $15,000 now. That day, I decided I would take back everything with the truth. With the law, and right in front of all of them. My name is Harper Quinn, and I've always been the one who handles things. Until the Tuesday I couldn't. The conference room at Northline Strategies smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. We were 3 hours into pitching the Meridian Tech account a 7-figure contract that would make or break our quarter. I'd been running on 4 hours of sleep for the past week, subsisting on protein bars and whatever lukewarm liquid passed for coffee in our break room. Harper, the ROI projections. Marcus, our CEO, was staring at me expectantly. I stood, felt the room tilt, grabbed the edge of the table. The PowerPoint slides on the wall started swimming. Someone said my name once, twice, but it sounded like they were underwater. Then nothing. I came to with fluorescent lights stabbing into my retinas. The smell hit me first, that unmistakable cocktail of disinfectant and fear that only hospitals possess. St. Brigid Medical Center, according to the whiteboard across from my bed. Tuesday had become Wednesday. 2:37 p.m. The wall clock said, "You're awake." The nurse her badge read. Ava adjusted my IV with practiced efficiency. "You gave everyone quite a scare. Severe dehydration, blood pressure bottomed out. Your body basically forced a hard reset. The pitch. Your colleague handled it. Jonah. He's been by twice already." She checked her tablet. "We called your emergency contacts when you were brought in. Your parents, Robert and Elaine Mercer. They're listed as primary..." My mouth went dry despite the IV fluids. "Did they?" "Left a voicemail. Said they were out of town, but you should call when you're feeling better." Ava's expression was carefully neutral, the kind nurses perfect when delivering information that shouldn't hurt, but does. I reached for my phone on the bedside table. 17 missed calls from work, 3 from Jonah, 0 from Charlotte, North Carolina, where my parents lived in their pristine colonial with the wraparound porch I'd helped them pay for. But there was something else. A notification from Instagram. Kylie had tagged me 4 hours ago. The photo loaded slowly on the hospital's weak Wi-Fi. There they were, Mom, Dad, and Kylie grinning in front of the Lake Marigold cabin in South Carolina, the one we'd gone to every summer when we were kids, the one they'd said was too expensive to rent anymore. Dad's arm around Mom's shoulders, Kylie holding up a glass of wine, the golden hour light making everything look like a commercial for family happiness. The caption, "This year's piece is everything. Family time, jogger blessed ochre lake life." Posted at 11:43 a.m. The exact time I was being wheeled into the emergency room. I zoomed in on their faces. They looked so relaxed, so unbothered. In the background, I could see the picnic table where we used to have breakfast, now covered with what looked like a full spread, the good china Mom only brought out for special occasions. Another notification popped up. Kylie again. This time a story. I clicked through a video of her twirling in a new sundress. Dad manning the grill. Mom arranging flowers in that crystal vase she'd inherited from Grandma. Perfect family getaway. She'd written across it with heart emojis. The nurse was saying something about keeping me overnight for observation, about stress-induced collapse, about the importance of rest. But all I could hear was the silence where my family's concern should have been. They knew. They had to know. The hospital had called them, and they'd chosen to continue their perfect family getaway, minus the daughter who'd spent 32 years being their safety net, their fixer, their personal ATM. I scrolled through more photos. There was one from that morning, 6:28 a.m., of sunrise over the lake. They'd been there since at least yesterday. Planned this trip, packed their bags, drove 6 hours, all while I was working myself into a hospital bed. Honey. Ava was back, looking concerned. "Your heart rate just spiked. You need to rest." I set the phone down, but the image was burned into my mind. My family, complete and content, with an empty space where I should have been. Except it wasn't empty. It was filled with their laughter, their wine, their peace. Everything. Without me. The pattern started when I was 7 and Kylie was 5. I remember the exact moment because it was my birthday, and I'd gotten a savings bond from Grandma while Kylie got the dollhouse I'd circled in the Toys R Us catalog 3 times. Harper's more responsible with money, Mom had explained, ruffling Kylie's blonde curls while I held the piece of paper that wouldn't be worth anything for another decade. And look how happy your sister is with her gift. She was right. Kylie was ecstatic, and I learned my first lesson. My joy was negotiable. Hers was essential. By high school, the roles were cemented. I was on the honor roll, working nights at Target, saving for college. Kylie was in the school plays, needed tutoring in math, required special art supplies for her gift. When acceptance letters came, I got into Northwestern with partial academic scholarship. Kylie got into Savannah College of Art and Design with nothing but dreams and Mom's conviction that artists shouldn't be burdened with loans. We'll help you both equally, Dad had promised over dinner. Equal meant they paid Kylie's full tuition, room, board, and even spending money. Equal meant they co-signed my loans and reminded me that builds character. I watched them write checks for $45,000 a year while I calculated how many extra shifts I'd need to cover textbooks. When I pointed out the disparity, Mom's face crumpled. Harper, sweetie, you know Kylie needs more support. You've always been so capable. It's one of the things we're most proud of. Proud. They weaponized that word like a master chef wields a knife precise, efficient, leaving clean cuts that barely bled. Thanksgiving became my annual performance review. While Kylie regaled everyone with stories from her semester in Paris funded by the emergency education fund they'd created just for her, I'd clear dishes and deflect questions about why I looked tired. Harper's our rock, Dad would say, patting my shoulder as I served pie I'd bought because Mom forgot to make one. Don't know what we'd do without her. What they did without me was everything that mattered. Kylie's graduation in Savannah, they flew down for a week. Mine at Northwestern, they hit traffic and missed the ceremony but made the dinner. Kylie's first apartment in Brooklyn needed furnishing. They rented a U-Haul. My first apartment in Denver needed a security deposit. They suggested I get a credit card. The requests started small. Harper, could you cover Mom's birthday dinner Kylie's between jobs? Harper, the property tax is due and we're a little short this month. Harper, Kylie's car broke down and you know she can't afford repairs. 500 here. 1,000 there. Always with promises of repayment that evaporated like morning dew. I kept a spreadsheet at first, then stopped when it hit 5 figures and began affecting my sleep. But I kept paying, kept showing up, kept being the daughter who handled things. Last Christmas was the breaking point I didn't recognize. Kylie announced her boutique idea over dinner Everline Atelier, a curated selection of sustainable fashion for the conscious consumer. Mom clasped her hands together like Kylie had announced a cure for cancer. It's what Charlotte needs, Kylie gushed. I've already found the perfect space in South End. How much? I asked, because someone had to. Don't be so pessimistic, Harper. Mom's tone could have frozen wine. Your sister is following her passion. Her passion cost $70,000 of their retirement savings. They told me this proudly, like they'd made a wise investment instead of gambling their future on a 28-year-old who'd never held a job longer than 6 months. We believe in supporting dreams, Dad said, avoiding my eyes. I wanted to ask whose dreams they'd supported when I'd worked 3 jobs through college. I wanted to show them my own business plan, the one I'd shelved because I couldn't get a loan without a co-signer. I wanted to scream that dreams were a luxury I'd never been offered because I was too busy being reliable. Instead, I raised my glass of wine the good stuff because I'd brought it and toasted Kylie's success. That's our Harper, Mom said, relief flooding her face. Always so supportive. 3 months later, I was collapsing in a conference room while they planned their secret family getaway, the one where everyone would finally be relaxed, finally be happy, finally be at peace. Everything. Because I wasn't there to remind them of obligations, responsibilities, the unfair trade they'd been making for 25 years, my devotion for their conditional love. The IV drip marked time like a liquid metronome. 4:17 p.m. Wednesday. Still no word from Charlotte or Lake Marigold. Dr. Patel arrived with a clipboard and the kind of expression that preceded lectures. She was younger than me, maybe 28, with steady hands and no wedding ring. Probably didn't spend her weekends wire transferring money to family members who couldn't remember her birthday. Ms. Quinn, your blood work shows severe dehydration, dangerously low blood pressure, and cortisol levels that suggest chronic stress. When's the last time you had a full night's sleep? I tried to remember. The Meridian pitch had consumed 2 weeks. Before that, the Morrison campaign. Before that, a while. You're 32. Your body just gave you a warning shot. Next time might be a heart event. She pulled up a chair, a move that meant this wasn't a standard discharge speech. Is there someone who can help you, family? The laugh escaped before I could stop it sharp. Bitter. Nothing like joy. I see. Dr. Patel made a note. Well, you need to make changes. Real ones. Take time off. Delegate responsibilities. Stop carrying everyone else's load. If only she knew the weight of that word, everyone. After she left, I stared at the ceiling tiles and counted the dots in each square. 43 dots per tile. 12 tiles visible from my bed. 516 dots total. Mathematics was clean, reliable. Unlike people. A knock interrupted my counting. Jonah Park stood in the doorway holding a Northline tote bag and a guilty expression. He was still in his pitch outfit, the navy suit that brought out his eyes, though I wasn't supposed to notice things like that about colleagues. You scared the hell out of us, he said, setting the bag on the visitor's chair. Marcus went white when you hit the floor. I've never seen him move that fast. The pitch. We got it. Barely. I butchered your ROI section, but they liked the campaign concept enough to overlook my stammering. He pulled out my laptop charger, a change of clothes, and improbably, a pair of fuzzy socks with avocados on them. Your emergency contact list at work only had your parents. Should I call someone else? Boyfriend, siblings? My sister's at the lake with my parents. Family vacation. His eyebrows drew together. But you're here. Yes. The silence stretched until Jonah filled it with motion, arranging the items he'd brought with unnecessary precision. I grabbed these from your desk drawer, figured hospital socks are terrible. They were. The fuzzy avocados were ridiculous and perfect, and I had to blink hard to keep my eyes from watering. Harper. He sat on the edge of the visitor's chair. This isn't my business, but who's taking care of you when you leave here? I'll manage. I always do. That's not... He stopped, ran a hand through his black hair. My sister went through something similar. Different circumstances, but same result. She gave everything to people who only noticed when the well ran dry. What did she do? Cut them off, moved to Portland, opens a food truck now. He smiled. Makes the best kimchi tacos you've ever had and doesn't answer calls from anyone who makes her feel small. Must be nice to be able to just leave. She didn't just leave. She chose herself. There's a difference. After Jonah left, promising to handle my workload through Friday, I sat with his words. Chose herself. What a foreign concept. I'd been choosing others for so long. I'd forgotten I was even an option. My phone buzzed. Finally, a text from Mom. Sweetie, got the hospital's message. Sure you're fine. You always bounce back. Can't talk now, but call when you can. Kylie needs business advice. Not, are you okay? Not, we're coming. Not even, what happened. Just assumption and another ask, wrapped in exclamation points like decorative ribbon on an empty box. I looked at the fuzzy avocado socks, then at Mom's text, then at the IV bag slowly dripping salvation into my veins. Somewhere, a machine beeped. A nurse laughed in the hallway. Life continued its rhythm, indifferent to revelations. That's when I knew. Family wasn't the people who shared your DNA. Family was the colleague who brought you fuzzy socks, the nurse who sat with you during visiting hours when no visitors came, the doctor who pulled up a chair instead of standing at the foot of your bed. Family was whoever showed up when you couldn't stand up. And for the first time in 32 years, I realized I had the power to choose who that would be. 2 days out of the hospital, I was sitting in my Denver apartment sorting medical paperwork when my phone exploded. Not literally, though that might have been preferable. 7:43 a.m. Friday. First call Mom. I let it ring through. 8:05 a.m. Dad. Declined. 8:12 a.m. Kylie. Voice message. 8:15 a.m. Mom again. Text. Urgent. Call immediately. 8:17 a.m. Text from Dad. Harper, this is serious. Kylie needs help. 8:20 a.m. Text from Kylie. Transfer $15,000 to my business account now. Routing and account numbers below. 8:21 a.m. Text from Kylie. This is life or death for Everline. 8:23 a.m. Text from Mom. Your sister is crying. How can you ignore family? 8:25 a.m. Voice message from Dad. I played it on speaker while making coffee. Harper, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but your sister's boutique is in crisis. We've already invested $70,000 from our retirement. We can't afford more. You have savings. Family helps family. Call me back. $70,000. He said it like it was nothing. Like they hadn't told me they couldn't help with my student loans because money was tight. 8:32 a.m. Kylie called again. This time I answered. Finally, Jesus. Harper, I've been trying to. I was in the hospital. What when? Tuesday through Thursday. St. Bridget Medical Center. The hospital called you. Well, Mom and Dad. Silence. Then, they didn't. I mean, we were at the lake. No cell service in spots. Instagram worked fine. Harper, I don't have time for whatever this is. I need that money today. The vendor's threatening to pull the entire spring line, and I have an influencer event next week that... No. Excuse me. No. I'm not transferring $15,000. You don't understand. I'll lose everything. Then you'll lose everything. She hung up. 30 seconds later. Mom called. Harper Quinn, you will help your sister right now. Hello to you too. Mom, I'm feeling much better. Thanks for asking. Don't be dramatic. Your father said you're playing games. I collapsed at work. Severe dehydration. Stress-induced. I could have died. But you didn't? Her tone was matter-of-fact, like I'd reported a paper cut. You're fine now. And Kylie needs... Why didn't you come... What? To the hospital. It was 90 minutes from Lake Marigold. Why didn't you come? Harper, we had plans. The cabin was non-refundable. You know how expensive. $70,000 expensive. Silence. That's different, she finally said. That's an investment in Kylie's future. And my future. You have a good job. You've always been self-sufficient. Kylie's different. She's sensitive, artistic. She needs support. I needed support too. When I was working 3 jobs through college. When I was eating ramen for months to make rent. When I was lying in a hospital bed alone. You're being unfair. I'm being honest. We'll drive up tomorrow. We can discuss this in person. They arrived at 2:15 p.m. Saturday. Still in their late clothes, Dad in his golf polo, Mom in her sundress, Kylie in designer jeans I'd probably inadvertently paid for. They sat in my living room like it was an intervention, except I wasn't the one who needed saving. 15,000. Dad started without preamble. It's not that much for you. It's not about the amount. Then what's it about? Kylie's eyes were red-rimmed but calculating. Revenge because you're jealous. It's about patterns. It's about being in the hospital while you posted beach selfies. It's about 25 years of being the wallet, not the daughter. We love you equally, Mom insisted. No, you need me functionally. You love Kylie emotionally. There's a difference. How dare you? Show me, I interrupted. Show me one photo from my college graduation, one birthday card you sent to Denver, one time you visited without needing something. They couldn't. But Kylie's business, Dad tried again, is failing because she opened it without a business plan, without experience, without anything but your blind faith in retirement funds. It's my dream. Kylie stood, shaking. You wouldn't understand. You've never had passion for anything but spreadsheets and being superior. I had dreams. I just never had parents who'd bankrupt themselves to fund them. So you'll let me fail out of spite. I'll let you fail because it's not my responsibility to save you. Not anymore. Mom stood too, gathering her purse like armor. If you don't transfer that money, don't bother coming to Christmas. I haven't been invited to Christmas in 3 years. Mom, you just haven't noticed I stopped showing up uninvited. They left at 3:47 p.m. Kylie slamming my door hard enough to knock a picture off the wall, ironically, one from her college graduation, the one I'd driven 14 hours to attend. I picked up the broken frame, careful of the glass. In the photo, I stood at the edge, half cropped out, wallet probably already empty from paying for the celebration dinner. That's when I decided if they wanted war, I'd give them one, but I'd fight it with something they'd never expected from reliable, responsible Harper, the truth, and a lawyer. Sunday morning, I spread everything across my dining table like evidence at a crime scene: bank statements, text messages, screenshots, receipts, 25 years of financial hemorrhaging, documented in neat piles. The numbers were worse than I'd thought. $38,000 over the past 5 years alone, not including the gifts that were never called loans, the dinners where my card somehow always ended up paying, the emergencies that only I could solve. I started with the text messages, screenshotting every promise to repay. Kylie was careless with her words when she needed money. I'll pay you back next month, swear. This is just a loan until sales pick up. You're literally saving my life. We'll transfer back ASAP. ASAP had apparently meant never. The Colorado Legal Aid Clinic was open Mondays. I'd Googled them at 3mm, reading reviews from people who'd been screwed by family, employers, landlords, people who couldn't afford real lawyers but needed real justice, people like me, apparently. But first, I called Jonah. He answered on the second ring, even though it was Sunday afternoon. Harper, everything okay? I need a favor, a weird one. Weirder than emergency avocado socks. I need to know about small claims court and debt collection. You mentioned once your brother-in-law is a paralegal. My brother, actually, and he's a full lawyer now, does civil litigation. What's going on? I gave him the abbreviated version. He whistled low when I mentioned the amount. Give me an hour, he said. I'll call him. 90 minutes later, Jonah was at my door with his brother Daniel, a tall Korean-American guy with kind eyes and a legal pad. Pro bono, Daniel said before I could ask. Jonah explained the situation. I hate when families pull this crap. We spent 3 hours building the case. Daniel was methodical, sorting evidence into admissible and inadmissible, teaching me the language of legal recovery. The $8,000 in documented loans is recoverable, he explained. Clear written agreements via text, unfulfilled promises to repay. The rest, the gifts, the informal help that's gone. But here's the interesting part. He pulled up something on his laptop. Everline Atelier LLC. Public records show it's behind on sales tax, 2 months late on commercial rent. Your sister personally guaranteed the lease. Meaning if you win a judgment and she doesn't pay, you can garnish the business accounts or force asset liquidation. The spring inventory she's panicking about, that's an asset. I don't want to destroy her business. You're not destroying anything. You're collecting a legal debt. What happens to her business is a consequence of her choices, not yours. Monday morning, I filed the small claims case, $8,000 plus filing fees and interest. The clerk date-stamped it with the kind of satisfying thunk that felt like punctuation. Tuesday. I sent the formal demand letter Daniel had helped me draft. Certified mail. Signature required. Professional. Cold. Indisputable. Wednesday. Kylie called 17 times. I didn't answer. Thursday. She posted on Instagram, "When family betrays you for money." Heartbroken? Blood isn't thicker. I screenshot that too. Daniel said social media admissions were gold in court. Friday brought a letter from someone claiming to be the Mercer family attorney. I forwarded it to Daniel, who laughed. "This is her landlord's nephew who took 1 year of law school. The letterhead is from Kinko's. He's threatening defamation based on what? The truth." But the best discovery came from an unexpected source. Saturday afternoon, I got a LinkedIn message from Rachel Morrison, who'd gone to SCAD with Kylie. "Hey Harper, saw Kylie's posts about family drama. Not my business, but thought you should know she's been telling investors you're a silent partner in Everline. She used your name and credit score to secure a vendor line of credit. Might want to check your credit report." I pulled my credit report immediately. There it was, a $30,000 business credit line with Everline Atelier LLC, opened 2 months ago. Harper Quinn listed as personal guarantor. Identity theft, fraud, federal crimes. I called Daniel, hands shaking. "Holy shit," he said. "Excuse my language. This changes everything. This isn't small claims anymore. This is criminal. I don't want her arrested. You might not have a choice. But Harper, this is leverage. Major leverage." I stared at the credit report, at the forged signature on the guarantee, at my sister's desperate attempt to fund her dreams with my name. That's when I realized she'd already destroyed our relationship. All I was doing was documenting the demolition. I opened a new spreadsheet and titled it Truth Timeline. Every receipt, every broken promise, every legal violation. If she wanted to tag me out of family photos, I'd tag her in something else entirely. A lawsuit. Kylie fired the first shot on social media Sunday morning. A carefully curated Instagram story, her crying in what looked like designer sunglasses, boutique boxes stacked behind her. When your own sister chooses money over family. When success makes people cruel. Some of you have asked why Everline might close. This is why. By noon, she'd escalated to a full post. A throwback photo of us as kids, me pushing her on a swing, both of us laughing. The caption was a masterpiece of manipulation. "I never thought I'd have to write this. My sister, who I've always looked up to, is suing me during the hardest time of my life. While she makes 6 figures, I'm trying to build something beautiful for our community." I guess some people forget where they came from. Family betrayal, or small business struggles, or heartbroken. The comments poured in. Her influencer friends rallying. Local customers expressing shock. 300 likes in an hour. I sat at my laptop. Daniel on speakerphone. "Don't engage," he warned. "Anything you post can be used." I know, but she's controlling the narrative. Let her. Courts don't care about Instagram. But I cared. These were people I knew. Mutual connections who were now choosing sides based on fiction. Then Jonah texted, "You seeing this? She's getting destroyed in the Charlotte Reddit." I pulled up the thread. Local boutique owner calls out sister, but receipts say otherwise. Someone had done their homework. Public records of Everline's tax liens. The health department notice about the unpaid permit. Screenshots of Kylie at the lake while claiming poverty. But I wasn't going to let strangers fight my battle. At 4:13 p.m., I posted my response. One single post. No tears, no manipulation, just facts. A photo of my hospital wristband. Timestamp visible Tuesday, 11:43 a.m. A screenshot of Kylie's lake post Tuesday, 11:43 a.m. A screenshot of the demand letter for $8,000 in documented loans. A simple caption, "I will not be transferring $15,000. Here's why I was in the hospital for stress-induced collapse when this photo was taken. The loan requested is in addition to $8,000 already owed. I've been listed as a fraudulent guarantor on a $30,000 credit line. I didn't authorize. I filed appropriate legal action. All documentation has been provided to authorities. I wish Everline Atelier the best. No hashtags, no hearts, no broken emoji, comments disabled. Then I went nuclear in a different way. I sent individual emails to Everline's vendors, the ones I could identify from her Instagram posts. Professional, factual, dear vendor name. I am writing to inform you that I am not, and have never been, a financial guarantor or partner in Everline Atelier LLC, despite any documentation suggesting otherwise. Any contracts or credit lines listing me are fraudulent. Please direct all business matters to the registered owner, Kylie Mercer. Regards, Harper Quinn. By 6 p.m., Kylie was calling. This time, she was screaming. You're destroying me. The vendors are pulling out. How could you? You committed fraud, using my name, my credit. I was desperate. You wouldn't help. I wouldn't give you $15,000 while recovering from hospitalization. That's not the same as not helping. The influencer event is Thursday. If you don't fix this, no. I'll tell everyone what you really are. Cold, calculating, jealous of my success. Your business is 3 months from bankruptcy. Kylie? What success? At least I tried something. At least I have dreams. You just have spreadsheets and spite. I have boundaries. Finally. She hung up. 5 minutes later, Mom called. Take down that post. No. Harper, you're humiliating us. You humiliated yourselves when you chose a weekend at the lake over your hospitalized daughter. That's not we didn't know it was serious. You didn't ask. Your sister's reputation is built on lies and my credit score. Family doesn't air dirty laundry in public. Family doesn't commit fraud. Family doesn't ignore emergency calls from hospitals. Family doesn't demand money via text while someone's still on IV fluids. You're being vindictive. I'm being factual. There's a difference. Dad took the phone. Harper, what do you want? An apology. Fine, we're sorry. Now, fix this. I want $8,000. I want my name off that fraudulent credit line. I want to never be asked for money again. You know we can't pay $8,000. Then Kylie can, or she can explain to a judge why she can't. You'd really take your sister to court. She really committed fraud. Silence. Then, we're done with you. Dad, you were done with me the moment I was born responsible instead of special. He hung up. By midnight, my post had been screenshotted and shared across Charlotte's social media. Someone leaked it to a local blogger who covered small business drama. The headline, Boutique Owner's Sister Brings Receipts to Family Feud. Kylie posted one more story at 2:37 a.m. The truth will come out. I smiled at my phone in the dark. Yes, I thought. It will. Thursday was going to be beautiful. The small claims hearing was set for Thursday at 9 a.m. Kylie didn't show. Judge Martinez, a woman who looked like she'd seen every family disaster in Colorado, reviewed the documents with surgical precision. My parents sat in the back row with Kylie's Kinko's lawyer, who kept shuffling papers like he'd find a defense in the stack. Ms. Mercer has been properly served. The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor. Daniel confirmed. Certified mail, signed by the defendant herself. And she's chosen not to appear. It seems so. The judge turned to me. Ms. Quinn, you're seeking $8,000 plus fees. Yes, Your Honor. All documented through text messages and bank transfers. She reviewed the evidence. Kylie's promises to repay. The transfers from my account. The dates. Amounts. Her acknowledgments of the debts. This is fairly straightforward. Judge Martinez said. Mr. She squinted at the nephew. Thompson. Do you have any defense to present on behalf of Ms. Mercer? He stood, cleared his throat. Your Honor, these were gifts between family members. Then why did Ms. Mercer repeatedly promise to repay them? The judge held up the screenshots. This one from March specifically says, I promise this is a loan, not a gift. We'll pay back with interest. Thompson sat down. Judgment for the plaintiff. The judge announced, $8,000 plus court fees, to be paid within 30 days. If Ms. Mercer fails to comply. Ms. Quinn may pursue wage garnishment or asset seizure. She looked at my parents. Family money disputes are painful, but fraud is fraud, and debts are debts. Why? The gavel came down at 9:27 a.m. My parents left without speaking to me. Thompson scurried after them, probably calculating how to bill Kylie for his humiliation. But Thursday wasn't over. At 2 p.m., I stood outside Everline Atelier with Daniel, a sheriff's deputy named Officer Washington, and the court order. The boutique was buzzing with preparation. Through the windows, I could see the influencer event set up rose gold balloons, champagne flutes, a backdrop that said Everline Dreams in cursive neon. Kylie was steaming dresses when we walked in. She saw the uniform first, then me, then the papers in Officer Washington's hand. "No," she said. "Not today. You can't, ma'am." Officer Washington interrupted. "You have a judgment against you. $8,000 plus fees. You can pay now, or we can begin asset seizure. The event is in 2 hours. Then you have 2 hours to produce payment." 3 influencers were already there, setting up ring lights. They pulled out phones, started recording. I recognized one Bethany something, with 40,000 followers. "Is this content?" Bethany whispered to another girl. Kylie turned to me, mascara already running. "Please, not like this." "You had 30 days to handle this privately. You chose not to appear in court. I couldn't face you, but you could defraud me." Mom and Dad burst through the door, Dad's face purple with rage. "Harper, stop this immediately." "Sir, ma'am, please step back," Officer Washington said. "This is our daughter's business. This is a legal enforcement action." More influencers arrived, confusion spreading as they took in the scene. Someone was definitely live streaming now. "Pay her," Mom hissed at Kylie. "Just pay her and make them leave." "With what?" Kylie's voice cracked. "Everything's tied up in inventory." Daniel stepped forward. "The inventory can be liquidated to satisfy the judgment." "You mean, take my clothes, if necessary." The perfect disaster was unfolding exactly as Kylie had orchestrated it, just not in her favor. The influences she'd invited to celebrate were witnessing her destruction. The social media presence she'd cultivated was capturing her humiliation. Dad pulled out his checkbook. "I'll pay it." "Robert, no." Mom grabbed his arm. "That's our savings. What choice do we have?" He wrote the check with shaking hands. $8,347, court fees included. I took it, endorsed it immediately to prevent stop payment games, and handed it to Daniel for deposit. "Harper," Kylie said quietly, the boutique silent except for the hum of ring lights. "I hope you're happy." I looked around, at the beautiful space funded by our parents' retirement, at the inventory bought with my credit, at the influencers who'd never know how many nights I'd spent sick with worry over bills while funding this fantasy. "No," I said, "but I'm free." I turned to Officer Washington. "We're done here." As we left, I heard Bethany say, "Should we still do the event? Or—" The last thing I saw was Mom holding Kylie while Dad stood frozen, check register still in his hand, probably calculating how much of their retirement had just evaporated. Daniel waited until we were in the parking lot to speak. "You okay?" "Actually, yes." "The fraud charge, you still want to pursue it." I thought about the $30,000 credit line with my forged signature. "Yes, but not today. Today. I just want to go home." At 4:17 p.m., as Kylie's influencer event should have been starting, I updated my emergency contact forms at work and my doctor's office, removed Robert and Elaine Mercer, added Jonah Park. Then I blocked every family member's number and went for a walk, my heartbeat steady for the first time in months. I walked out of Everline Atelier into the Denver afternoon sun, leaving behind the sound of ring lights powering down and dreams deflating. The October air hit different when you weren't carrying everyone else's weight. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. No buzzing, no demands, no guilt dressed up as family obligation. The next 3 days brought a barrage of messages to my email, the only contact method I'd left open. I didn't read them. Daniel did, forwarding only what required legal response. Apparently, Kylie's influencer event had happened, but the live-streamed enforcement action had already gone viral in Charlotte's social media circles. Someone had titled it, "Boutique Owner Gets Served Justice at Her Own Party." I didn't watch the videos. I didn't need to. Monday morning, I returned to work. Marcus had approved a 2-week medical leave, but I only needed 5 days. 5 days to file paperwork, change locks, and learn what my life felt like without the constant pull of family gravity. "You look different," Jonah said, bringing coffee to my desk. "I sleep now." Revolutionary concept. The fraud investigation would take months, Daniel warned. The $30,000 credit line was evidence in a federal case now. Kylie would likely plea down to restitution and probation, avoiding jail time if she cooperated. I was fine with that. I didn't want her imprisoned. I just wanted my name back. 2 weeks later, a final email came through Daniel, not from Kylie or my parents, but from Aunt Sarah, Mom's sister in Phoenix who I hadn't spoken to in years. "Harper, I heard about everything. I'm proud of you. I watched your parents enable Kylie while draining you for decades. I said nothing because it wasn't my place. But honey, choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. If you ever need a real family holiday, Phoenix is warm and my door is open." I read it 3 times, then booked a flight for Thanksgiving. The boutique closed in November. I found out through LinkedIn, not family. Everline Atelier's Instagram went dark. Kylie moved back in with our parents, according to the Charlotte Reddit that Jonah insisted on monitoring for me. I stopped checking after that. December brought snow and silence. I spent Christmas Eve with Jonah and his family, learning to make kimchi while his mother told embarrassing stories about his childhood. His sister called from Portland, her food truck visible in the background, and raised a glass to "choosing yourself." I raised my glass of macchiali back. Dr. Patel was right about the warning shot. My body had been keeping score for 32 years and almost shut down from the debt. But here's what she didn't tell me. Recovery isn't just about rest. It's about refusing to pick up the weight again, even when people call you selfish for protecting your own spine. The last time I saw my family was on a security camera footage Daniel obtained for the fraud case. They were walking out of the bank after withdrawing their savings to pay my judgment. Dad's shoulders slumped. Mom clutched her purse like armor. Kylie trailed behind, typing furiously on her phone. They looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I was finally standing straight. I kept the footage on my laptop for a month, then deleted it. Some evidence is only meant to prove a point to yourself, and I'd proven mine family isn't who shares your blood. Family is who shows up when you bleed. The check cleared. $8,347 returned to my account. I donated $1,000 to St. Bridget's Cardiac Unit and put the rest in an investment account I named Freedom Fund. 6 months later, I got promoted to vice president at Northline. The presentation went perfectly. I didn't collapse. My heart rate stayed steady at 72 beats per minute. Ava, the nurse from St. Bridget, was right about something else too. Your body forces a hard reset when you ignore the warnings too long. But sometimes that reset isn't just medical. Sometimes it's a complete system restore. I never spoke to them again. No dramatic reconciliation. No tearful apologies. No healing moment where we all realized what really mattered. Just silence, spreading like morning light across clean snow. And in that silence, I found something I'd lost somewhere between being 7 years old with a savings bond and 32 years old with an IV drip myself. The Harper who didn't owe anyone anything except her own survival. My heart beats steady now, 68 times per minute. The sound of a life finally living for itself. Some stories end with forgiveness. Mine ends with freedom. And that's enough. That's everything. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your own thoughts about family, boundaries, and choosing yourself. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply refuse to carry weight that was never ours to bear.